Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new member of the family. Introducing the Steam Deck OLED. As many of you know, I adore handheld gaming. For those who don't know, just a quick story. Growing up, my brother was playing travel baseball, travel basketball often, so we were always on the road. And naturally, I was not able to be at home with my PlayStation 2, my original Xbox, my GameCube, and so my way of connecting with gaming while on the go was your Game Boy Advance, your PlayStation Portable, some of my favorite systems growing up, some of my favorite memories as a gamer growing up, from Battle Network to Mega Man X, Maverick Hunter. I mean, I just absolutely adore those systems. And so I've always had a soft spot for handhelds. And in this new handheld gaming renaissance, I am overjoyed with how much we are seeing, to the point where I do have a bit of a spending problem here. Like, I bought the PS Portal, we've reviewed the ROG Ally, we've reviewed the Logitech G Cloud, we've done a sponsorship with Backbone, I've covered in quarterly reviews the Steam Deck, just updating my impressions, and today we're going over the latest addition in the Steam Deck OLED. Now, at first, I didn't think this one would justify its own video. I was just happy to quietly upgrade on the side and just keep enjoying my games and make another video. But as I was testing it out, I went, this isn't just a screen upgrade. This is way more than that. And the main reason I was upgrading was I wanted to invest in the screen. I heard about the better battery life and the quicker download speeds. I went, okay, that's enough for me personally, because I know I have a buddy who wants a Steam Deck, so I'm going to surprise him with that, pass that on, and then just have this as my personal one to use. But this one really caught me off guard, because as someone who loved the original Steam Deck, the surrounding support pieces are what kind of got to me with this system, and I'll explain what those are in a moment. And so to see them sort of tightened up here with the OLED, and it's not just a screen upgrade, I hope to convey all of that to you in this video. But with how many handhelds are out there, some of you may be asking like for an ultimate buyer's guide for all of the handhelds, and I am planning on doing that, because even down to the analog pocket, like there's so many options out there. If you're trying to nail one down, I don't currently have that one-trick video answer for you, so I'm going to get to work on that. But today, we're just going to mostly talk about the Steam Deck OLED, couple comparisons to my friends with Logitech G Cloud and the ROG Ally. I feel like it'd just be bad coverage for me not to account for those and what kind of experiences they offer me. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into handheld gaming, we do cover it on the occasion. Maybe we're not Digital Foundry, but we talk about it. Consider subscribing. All right, so the OLED screen is obviously the biggest selling point here for many, but I wouldn't say it was what like lit the world on fire for me. Yes, just like the Nintendo Switch, it breathes life into new games, especially depending on certain picks you make. For example, I fired up as a first game Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. I did this because it's very Jet Set Radio inspired, and for those who have not played Jet Set Radio, its color splashes all over the place. I don't think any camera or recording device I have can really convey how much this screen pops, how bright it is, how beautiful it is, and how much it adds to the experience, especially in a game like this, but it is wonderful. But it's not the main reason I really wanted to hop into all of this, because the Switch OLED was also that reminder to me of like, okay, it's just kind of mainly a screen upgrade, nothing too crazy otherwise. But here is where it really started to win me over, because remember what I said, the Steam Deck, there were just these little support pieces on the side that I just couldn't get over. For example, the fans on the Steam Deck, and I say this as someone who uses this handheld here often, which is Mr. Loud fan. The Steam Deck, their fans would just blow loud to download games. It would just be constantly going loud, loud, loud while I'm playing. I could hear it running, struggling during any remotely intensive game I was playing, and I just didn't enjoy it. It became a little bit distracting, quite frankly. What's impressed me most here with the Steam Deck OLED is this thing is silent. It's silent. I was playing less demanding games like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and then I was going to something more demanding like Halo Infinite, and I was playing something sort of in the middle in Arkham City Game of the Year Edition, and just every step of the way, this thing was really quiet. But as I mentioned, my fans were really roaring when I was even downloading games. None of that is happening, and I was reminded of that when I fired up my Steam Deck to just compare a little. I fired up Evil West just to see how the screen was looking, and yeah, it's definitely not as great, but there were also other things I was reminded of, such as that the fan blowing and the heat management just not being there. One thing that you felt with the original Steam Deck was it would get hot over time, and don't get me wrong, the OLED will have a little bit of that, but not nearly as bad. The heat management here is completely improved, which made me again very happy, because then I can indulge more in gaming sessions without feeling like I'm about to break a really expensive piece of technology, where sometimes I just like having them sit on my desk and I'm like, yeah, I have you for like emergency situations only. What really was a major game changer for me is download times. And the download times on the Steam Deck OLED are massively improved, where I was putting in 50 gigabyte games in a handful of minutes. I was really impressed with the improved speeds here, because one thing I would typically do with my original Steam Deck is start some downloads and go find something to do for an hour or two. Being able to maximize that here with the Steam Deck OLED, it's why I went with just the 512 gigabyte model. I don't need a terabyte of space on my Steam Deck, but also having quicker download times lets me just switch in and out with the games I need right then and there. The battery life is improved. Valve said 30 to 50%, and that works enough. You're not suddenly going to get a ton of mileage out of more demanding games per se, but it's enough where you can extend that gaming session. I will have my hot take here in that battery life wasn't a non-issue for me with the Steam Deck, but with all of these handhelds in particular, I was never too picky about it, because my handheld gaming sessions were always 1 to 2 hour bursts, pick up and play, and then maybe sit down at the console later. It was never a dedicated sit down session, but I also travel a lot less, where this would be a lot less practical, what I'm talking about, where you want to have those longer sessions. So having any extra battery life on your Steam Deck is impressive, especially with how much more it is doing in the sense of the screen, the image display, and other things underneath the hood. One thing I want to call out that's, I guess, a tangible, but also feels like an intangible, is the OS navigation as you're going through the Steam Deck. It's just a lot more smoother, tastier here in the Steam Deck OLED. And this isn't me just viewing it through rose-tinted glasses. Again, I fired up my old one because I wanted to factory reset it for a buddy of mine, and I was going through the menus, and it's just little hitches, little hiccups here and there. Nothing that was really disrupting the experience, but it feels like this is the more refined original Steam Deck here, as it should be. I also recognize when switching back and forth that the Steam Deck OLED is lighter, which I think is pretty nice given the form factor. When you first start using a new handheld, I don't know if people are weird like me, sometimes like the reaching of the thumbs and the moving all over the place can sometimes cause a little bit of strain in this area of your hand. That was not a thing here with the OLED, and it actually wasn't a thing with the PlayStation Portal either, which was nice. They're improving the comfort of these handhelds, but for some of them, they kind of leave your hand hanging out there, and it creates that strain that over time you get a little bit sore. So having a lighter system removes that, alleviates that further. I never really had a major problem with that with the Steam Deck, but here it's even better. So it's a lot more comfortable to hold. It's not like you're gonna, for example, with the Steam Deck OLED, feel like you're lifting a feather with, you know, the Steam Deck original being an anvil, but there is a notable difference there, and I think it'll make the difference for you in some of those longer term gaming sessions. Little things here or there too that I wanted to call out. Like I mentioned, the smoothness of the OS. And for example, if you were playing a game, there's a 90 hertz refresh rate, which makes games look really buttery smooth. In particular, I felt that the most with Batman Arkham City. I was blown away. I mean, I know this is a pretty old game, but I mean, it just felt so good. Like, it was almost so smooth and silky that I was messing up combos and whiffing a ton on certain counters. I mean, this is an incredible experience here, and it's where I definitely felt the refresh rate the most. I was also able to compete pretty well in Halo Infinite multiplayer, where they have this Halo 3 refueled playlist, which is awesome, by the way, and it felt really good in an online environment too. Meanwhile, when I tried to test Halo Infinite on the original Steam Deck, that didn't feel particularly great, and there were a lot of hitches and hiccups here. The speakers have also seen a notable improvement, if you will. They're not as, I think the best word to be used would be tin canny. Again, I'm not an audiophile, so I'm not gonna sit here and pick apart all of the sound design just because it is above my pay grade, quite frankly. I wouldn't know exactly what I'm talking about. I just know good sound when I hear it, and it's okay and decent when you hear it with something like the original, whereas the OLED has been cleaned up a bit. And so there's a lot less, say, vibrations throughout the form factor. It just, again, feels a lot more tightened and refined. So those are like the major standouts for me as I was playing around today. I was pretty impressed with the Steam Deck OLED overall. If I had one critique right now, and I wouldn't say it comes down to the system, but definitely something of an experience that you have to go all the way through the back end to set up, is Game Pass. I'm disappointed in Xbox, again, this isn't Valve, that the native Game Pass support isn't there. Valve has said, we're here with open arms, please. Like, we would like to have Game Pass here on Steam. I would love for Xbox to really get this going. I would understand if it wasn't ready at launch, which it wasn't for the Steam Deck. But at this point in time, when you were there day one with this bad boy here and a ton of promotion with the ROG Ally, I just feel like you need to have native support here on Steam Deck, because when I played Yakuza Like a Dragon on Steam Deck, that was through Xbox Cloud Gaming, and it would pixelate often, major drop-offs in image quality. It would lag often, and it would eventually tighten up, but it wasn't like something such as the Logitech G Cloud, which I get because the Logitech G Cloud, it's more native. The app is built in there. It's not going through this weird back-end navigation that you got to do on the desktop mode. It's a complete pain to set up, and it's not your ideal way to play if you are an Xbox fan, I will say that. But if you are a owner of a Steam account and you have a lot of games in the library, like right now, they have this autumn sale going on, and what great timing. Valve are hilarious in that they will have a wonderful revision and time it out with a Steam sale, and so probably everyone who's bought a Steam Deck OLED is now firing away and picking up a ton of games, which I'm a little bit tempted to do, but I got some cleaning up to do first. Now, what the question you may be asking at the end of all of this is, okay, should I upgrade if I own a Steam Deck? I come from more of the enthusiast side of the camp, right? So I want to upgrade naturally. Like I'm looking at the PlayStation 5 Slim. That's something I want to get my hands on. I want to upgrade naturally. Also, because this is my job. I have a more increased reason to do so because I want to be on the up and up of what's happening in our industry. For you as the standard consumer who has the Steam Deck LCD screen, you may be asking, is the OLED worth it? And I would say this, it really depends what price you can come in on. It's hard for me to tell my audience, yo, $5,000, just throw it out there, right? It is a absolutely massive improvement, but that's a ton of money for me to recklessly say, yeah, go ahead, just go buy it, whatever. I think if you could sell your Steam Deck, get like $200, $300, maybe even $400, I don't know how much they really go for online, towards the OLED, and use that money to get an upgrade, absolutely. Absolutely. But if you don't have a Steam Deck, who knows when Steam Deck 2 is coming around, this may be worth looking at as well. I definitely think if you're jumping in for the first time, this is where you want to start. I think the LCD screen, it's notable just how many little issues it has that aren't going to destroy your experience, but this is all tightened up here. There's really no problems at all now. At the least, what it should encourage you about is Steam Deck 2. This isn't just what I think many system manufacturers have done. Oh, slap a new screen in there, resell it. This is the premium model now. This is a noteworthy upgrade, and it shows that Valve cares. And so I personally have to say, just watch out for Steam Deck 2, especially with all of the competition splashing in the space here. This is noteworthy, but don't have FOMO if you have the LCD screen. If you see a really good sale for these, that's another way you could upgrade. I just don't feel comfortable telling people to spend $5,000 willy-nilly, but it's definitely a noteworthy upgrade that I think you'll be very pleased with if you have that excess cash lying around that you could just spend on something like this. But if you're going to and you already own the original Steam Deck, I would say sell that, put the money towards there, and it is absolutely worth it. So ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on the Steam Deck OLED. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments down below, so do fire away. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the heck out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.